Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I thought I would finally make a video and let you guys know exactly what is wrong with the new Evo X. Now if you've seen the previous videos, you'll know that I was sort of calling this the cheapest Evo X in the country, which I believe it definitely was, with the price we paid for it. Now I'm not going to go into exactly what we paid, but I will say it was below the $20,000 mark, which is pretty cheap in Australia for an Evo X, very cheap. And yeah, we were under the $20,000 mark, so yeah, I'll leave what we paid at that. But it was actually advertised for a lot higher than what we paid. It was advertised for $28,000 originally, then the owner dropped it down to about 25.5, and we were happy to pay $22,000 if everything was perfect with the car. But after having a look at it, noticing a few things that were wrong with it ourselves, we decided to make sure we got a pre-purchase inspection through AK Racing, as they did a lot of work on this car, and they know the history of the car. So Alan at AK Racing used to actually be the owner of this a few years ago. Now, this used to be one of his daily drivers, and it actually did get a rebuilt SST gearbox by those guys about 5 years ago, and then it was sold to someone else who did a lot more work to it. But yeah, so that's actually the history of the car. Yeah, unfortunately it seems like it's not been looked after the best at some point. I'm not sure by who, one of the last two owners. But yeah, it does have pretty high kilometers or mileage, and yeah, it does have its few problems. So I'll quickly run through what the car's got part-wise, and then what's actually wrong with it and why we got it so cheap. Okay, so as you can see, the car is an MR. It is a 2008 model MR, so the very start of them in Australia. But it does have a few good options. So it does have the full aero body kit. So yeah, the front lip there, side skirts, and the rear spats at the back. You can see those. It does have a set of MCA XR purple coilovers. They were a pretty sort of mid-range coilover for MCA, which is an Australian suspension company. They're not exactly cheap, but they are pretty old now, so we'll probably get those rebuilt, which is good that MCA are local, so we can sort of take them to those guys and get them to rebuild them. But yeah, car's still handling fine at the moment. It does also have white line rear sway bar and a bunch of bushings and all that sort of stuff, end links. So yeah, a lot of suspension mods were done to the car by the previous. But the majority of the mods are performance mods that are in this car. So if I come around to the back, just get another good look at the wheels there in the shade. So if you come down here, you can see that it has a dual exit exhaust. It's an AK Racing catback exhaust. Also has these Rally Art heat shields, which I quite like. And then it goes into, from the catback, it goes into a AK Racing one cell cat, and then into an AK Racing wide mouth dump pipe. So okay, so here's where most of the money was spent by a previous owner. So it has a Perrin front mount intercooler, the Perrin upper and lower intercooler piping in the wrinkle black. So it's lower down here. Not the biggest fan of this setup personally, as it does relocate the blow-off valve, as you can see. So yeah, normally you don't have a opening here for your blow-off valve piping. Normally it would be down in the lower intercooler piping coming up. But with this setup we have, with the ETS intake and the APR tray and this heat shield, I'm not sure if the blow-off valve would be able to fit where it is meant to go, so it's probably lucky. But yeah, so the intercooler piping, ETS intake. Then it has a Hypertune tubular manifold and a Blausch Dominator 2.0 turbo. So also has 1000cc injectors and a Walbro fuel pump, and a Cobb or a TurboSmart 3-port solenoid. So some really good mods. and actually making really great power. Makes 288 kilowatts at the wheels at 24 pounds of boost, and it actually did run an 11.81 second quarter mile with the previous owner who did all the work to the car, which is really good for a full weight MR, as it does also actually have the sub in the boot. It has an amp under the seat, a lot of extra dynamat. So yeah, it's quite a heavy car. We'll probably try and do some weight reduction mods on this soon, just to get rid of some of the excess weight that isn't needed. But yeah, even with all the weight, with those mods and that power, running 11.81 second quarter mile it's really good. So yeah, happy with that. But now what I'll get into is what's actually wrong with the car. Right guys, I thought I'd actually just put the GoPro on my head and just go for a bit of a drive and have a chat while I let you guys know what's actually wrong with the car, rather than just sort of standing there in front of the car and talking about it. So basically, I believe I already said the amount of kilometers on the car. So it's got 210,000 kilometers on it, which is pretty high obviously, but it is a 2008 model. Mine, for example, is also a 2008, the black Evo. It has 170,000 kilometers on it. So this one, 210, it's not anything crazy, but the fact that it's had all of the sort of high wearing parts like suspension bushings, the turbo, the manifold, all the exhaust, and also the SST, all of that's already been replaced or rebuilt. So it's basically not as sort of risky to buy compared to sort of a, say, a 2008 model Evo with 100,000 kilometers. I'd much prefer to buy one with more kilometers if I know it's had a lot of the parts replaced and been looked after, etc. So yeah, I was happy to buy it. Obviously it was going to be cheap with the amount of kilometers, but I was happy to buy it with that many on there, knowing the mods that are on the car, and yeah, the servicing history, being the fact that it was owned by Alan at AK Racing, so it's fully looked after then. Looked after by the next owner who did all the work. It just seems like it's not been looked after the greatest, sort of maybe the last year or so. But either way, we went and looked at the car. We realised it had a few sort of problems that we were expecting, but we thought we'll pay the money, we'll get a pre-purchase inspection done by AK Racing, as they know the history of the car. They hadn't seen it in a while, but they did, like I said, used to own it, did a lot of work to it. And yeah, we wanted them to do one of their pre-purchase inspections, which I highly recommend if you are looking at buying an Evo 10 or a Rally Art. Any car really, you should try and get inspected by someone who knows what they're looking at. Performance cars, they can have issues, and if it's not a platform you're used to, it's a pretty good idea to get someone to have a look at it that does have experience with that platform. So yeah, the guys at AK Racing were perfect for doing that. So yeah, we got the previous owner to drop the car off for the day so they can inspect it, and they obviously found a few problems we found, like it had badly damaged sidewall on the front tyres. It had been in an accident, which we knew about, and so they said, yeah, it's got the new front bumper, which they actually supplied. It had a brand new subframe. It still had the stickers on it, OEM subframe, and it also had overfilled and dirty AYC fluid. It needed a full driveline fluid refresh. It had some bulbs out. It had about $1,000 worth of things that needed to be fixed just to get the roadworthy certificate, so that we could actually put the car into our name. So in Australia or in Queensland specifically, you need a roadworthy certificate if you would like to transfer a car in your name. So yeah, we said to the owner, we'll be happy to pay all that when we sort of first looked at the car. But yeah, the next thing they found was it was running extremely lean. The spark plugs weren't looking too great, showing that it had been running lean for quite some time. So they did a compression test, and for example, healthy compression on each cylinder is between 130 150. So we had cylinder 1 at 150, cylinder 3 at 145, and cylinder 2 at cylinder 4 at 150. Cylinder 2 though was at 100 or 95. Can't remember, but it was definitely not looking good. So yeah, the guys basically said they didn't want to do any more pulls in the car, because they were at the time sort of wanting to do a few pulls to check how the clutches were, if they were slipping or not. And they sort of said, we're not going to do any more pulls in the car, we don't want to blow it up. It's yeah, it's not looking very healthy. Basically needs a new engine or a rebuild, as the compression's only going to get worse. Also, the timing chain was stretched. Wasn't really bad or anything, but it was stretched and it was only going to get worse, so it needed a new timing chain eventually. So basically I went back to the owner and said, look, I'm not really interested in the car, it's got too many problems, pretty much needs a new engine. So for me to buy it, I would want to buy a wrecked Evo 10 engine, like from a wrecked car, from the panel beaters, or from the car wreckers, and put that in its place, and swap all the parts over, which would need to be had the tune looked at as well. So it's basically going to be not worth the money that he was sort of wanting on it, and that we were considering paying. And he obviously really needed the money badly, or he just really wanted to sell the car. Either way, he decided to say, look, I said the amount that I would have to pay to make it worthwhile for buying, basically saying, like, end of the conversation, obviously you're not going to be interested in that price. But he actually said, look, I am willing to take an offer and make it work. So yeah, we ended up negotiating a price that would make it worthwhile for me to buy and put a new engine in, which is what we're doing. So basically, yeah, the car has all these great parts on it. It was making great power. It's not really running the best at the moment, but so we are going to be putting a new engine in it. So we've already found the engine. It's from a 2012 Evo 10. It's got 100,000 kilometers on it, and it comes with a 6-month warranty. So the guys at AK Racing are going to be installing that for us. Alright guys, so the camera overheated there, and not sure how much footage I lost, just realised. But yeah, so basically that is the story of how we bought the car, why we bought the car, and what was actually wrong with it. So yeah, not sure if I got this part on footage, but either way, the car is going to get dropped off at AK in the next couple of weeks to get the new engine put in. All the other little issues have been fixed, aside from this bloody annoying rattle in the dash that it's got, which I'm still trying to fix. Thought I had it fixed, but obviously not. It's still happening today. But yeah, so hopefully get the car back in a couple of weeks. I will get them just do a couple, just a little like a base map on it, and then I'll be getting the car tuned. The tuner I usually use, Beeble tuning, and I do sort of remote tunes to save a bit of money. So yeah, I'm hoping when we get back with the fresher engine, get him to turn the boost up a little bit, maybe to 25 psi, and see if we can make just a bit over what it was making previously, or around the same. I'd be happy, but I'd love to get into the 290 kilowatt mark. Then I'd love to start stripping some weight out of the car, sorry, and making it a bit lighter. So it does have a lot of excess weight that it doesn't need, like the amp under the seat, which is massive, the sub in the boot, and yeah, get rid of some of these other speakers that have been added. Yeah, so we'll see if we can get the car running its sort of best, and at that point it's basically a perfect car for Letitia, perfect daily driver, and yeah, making great power. So it was too good for us to pass on, and yeah, that's going to be the end of the video there. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, definitely make sure to give the video a like, put any comments you have down below, and yeah, if you want to see more of this car, my Evo 10, Letitia's Rally Art, and some of my friends' Evo 10s and Rally Arts, then definitely consider hitting the subscribe button, because I do make 2 videos every week, one on Wednesday and one on Sunday, and yeah, trying to improve the video quality where possible. I'll look at getting another camera soon and trying to get better at editing. So yeah, make sure you consider subscribing if you're already subscribed. Thanks very much, really appreciate it. But yeah, until next time, I'll catch you guys later.
That can